Hi, today we are talking about equity. Before we start this lecture, make sure you pull out your skeletal notes, which have been attached into Canvas. You can either have them up on your screen or print them out, and that way you can take notes as I talk. You can also just take notes on your own paper, but this may help you to organize them better. Before we start, as you can see, I've moved outside. It's a gorgeous spring day. For those of you who have allergies, you may want to watch this inside, but the rest of you join me outside. Let's get a little sunshine. Okay, so first we're going to start talking about corporations. And there was, you've read in Canvas about how there's really three business entity types. There's sole proprietorships, where it's just one owner. There's partnerships, where you have two or more owners. And then there's a corporation that can have anywhere from one to a zillion owners. And really we're focusing on this chapter on corporations. So what are some of the advantages of setting up as a corporation? Okay, so the first is a corporation is a separate legal entity, which is an advantage because it has a limited liability. So that means that, it's limited liability for the owners. So that means that if the corporation gets sued, as an owner, as a shareholder, the most amount of money I can lose is whatever I paid for my ownership. So if the company goes bankrupt, then my investment is worth nothing. But whoever is suing the corporation, they can't come after me personally, okay? They can only sue the corporation. And so that's different than if I was a sole proprietorship, or if I was a partnership. Someone suing my business could actually sue me personally, and they can get my house or my cars or whatever. Okay, so that's a real advantage of corporations, and really it's the reason why a lot of people, small businesses, if they incorporate, one of the main reasons is for that limited liability. Okay, transferable ownership rights. So transferable ownership rights basically means if I own shares in a company, I can sell them, I can give them away, I can bequeath them to my heirs. Whereas with a sole proprietorship or a partnership, if I want to transfer my ownership, I have to dissolve the business and then create a new business with the new owners. Okay, so it's really easy. If I'm a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, it's very easy. I can go online, and I've sold my shares. Okay. Continuous life. So similar to the transferability of shares, if I'm a partnership and one of the partners dies, then we have to get a new partner and drop a new partnership agreement. The old partnership ceases to exist and we have to create a new partnership. Whereas if I'm a corporation, the owners can come and go, but I can have an unlimited life, okay? So if I owned my own business, the most I've probably got left is another 50, 60 years, wishful thinking. And then my business would die, and maybe someone else would take it over, but that would be a new business. But if I start a corporation, that corporation can live forever. Lack of mutual agency. This is another great one, especially if you're going into business with other people. So there are certain people who are authorized within the corporation to enter into contracts. And that binds the entire corporation. But those people are not usually just random shareholders. So if I own 2 stocks of Apple and someone else owns 2 stocks of Apple, I can't go start committing all of the other shareholders to some sort of an agreement. Only the people authorized by the corporation can enter into that. So it's kind of nice because if I don't know the other owners, I'm certainly not going to trust them not to make some sort of bonehead move, right? So it's good. I can't enter into agreements on behalf of the corporation, neither can the other owners. Only the people that we have all decided to authorize can enter into agreements. Ease of capital accumulation. Okay, ease of capital accumulation. Can you even see that? Let's do a little tip there. All right. Ease of capital accumulation means that when I'm a corporation and I have shares, it's very easy for me to sell them, right? I have a certain number of authorized shares. I can issue them to raise money. Whereas if I'm a partnership and I want to raise capital, then I have to admit a new partner or get all of the partners to contribute more. Same thing with the sole proprietorship. Really, the only way I can raise capital is if I donate more myself. But if I'm a corporation, I need to raise more money and the existing shareholders don't want to pony up, I go, that's okay, I'll just go issue more shares. Okay. Disadvantages of a corporation, because of course if there's an upside, there's a downside. Government regulation, there's a little more government regulation with corporations. They're chartered within a state. If you're a public corporation, you have to file your financial statements with the Securities and Exchange Commission. But here's the big one. I'm going to put a little star by it, or an asterisk, I guess it's called. Double taxation. So corporations are taxed because they are their own legal entity. And then the way they distribute cash to their shareholders is through a dividend. And that dividend is taxable to the shareholders. So basically, if I'm an owner, I'm paying twice the tax. The corporation's paying tax once, and I'm paying a separate tax on my dividend. Whereas if I'm a sole proprietor, my business isn't taxed. All of the income just goes onto my personal tax return. Same thing with partners. They file something called a K-1, and the partnership doesn't pay tax, but each of the partners pays tax on their share of the income that's reported to them on the K-1. You don't have to know the K-1, I'm just telling you. Okay, so the biggest disadvantage, and again, if I'm a small business, I would like to be a corporation because I would really like that limited liability. But most small businesses, in fact, do not become corporations because of the double taxation. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, that's the end of this video, and in the next one, we're going to talk about the basics of capital stock. All right, see you then.